Good evening, wrestling fans. Welcome to tonight's worldwide television presentation of Monday Nitro. It is scheduled for one fall. There will be no time limit.
I'm the greatest.
Introducing first, he is a member of Professional Wrestling Elite, Ernest the Cat Miller.
When this guy comes down to the ring, you can be sure of one thing, that he's going to cause some serious damage.
The fans look to me like they're in a surly mood.
WCW Mayhem, released by Electronic Arts, developed by Kodiak Interactive, was released for the PlayStation, Game Boy Color and Nintendo 64 on August 31st, 1999. Look, it was 1999. EA was a respected brand, though instead of creating this title in-house, they had Kodiak Interactive, a game company who was known for an RTS title, and only an RTS title, and basically just chose them to develop it. Although this seems like a strange decision, it's a story that actually will repeat itself, as the WWF does the same thing later on with the Raw series, and that company no longer exists. So yeah, it's their first WCW title, but not to worry, this is WCW in 1999. The Fingerpoke of Doom was 7 months ago. Nobody even remembers that, so please, don't look at the constantly declining ratings. Don't listen to Eric Bischoff when he says on TV he'll be fixing things. They also had a Game Boy version created for this title, who again had never made a wrestling game previously, instead working on a 007 title beforehand. That company no longer exists. Now, after launching WCW Mayhem for the first time, we're greeted with the weirdest intro to any wrestling game at the time. We essentially see Goldberg being formed by scientists in a lab before his eventual escape into the scene, ready to concuss Bret Hart and cost him $3 million Saudi dollars. The title screen presents the obvious selection: Quick Start, a way to jump immediately into a match with a random wrestler. Main Event, our way to choose our own match type ourselves. Quest for the Best, the career mode present in this title, with the goal of beating each contender before having a title match for the title itself against a reigning champion. The pay-per-view password screen, which we'll touch on in a second. Create a wrestler, and the global options screen, used for turning up and down music and commentary. Jumping into the main event scene, we see that there is in fact 12 different pay-per-view arenas present in this title, something I applaud greatly. I was getting seriously sick of making my own arena by picking random parts and putting them together in the acclaimed titles. Even WrestleMania doesn't have 12 arenas to choose from. Hell, even SmackDown doesn't have 12 arenas to choose from. On top of the 12 arenas listed, there's also 12 back rooms that can be visited by throwing an opponent backstage or just running and heading there yourself. Upon doing so, the camera switches to a CCTV style look, which is actually, it's kind of awesome. This game stole WWF SmackDown's whole backstage gimmick a year before WWF SmackDown even did it themselves. There's single matches, tag team matches, four-ways, battle royals, triangle matches, and handicap matches. There's Raven's Rules, Falls Count Anywhere, weapon matches, and that's about it. No table matches, ladders, cage matches, infernos, caskets, etc, etc. There's also easy, medium, hard difficulty selection on the screen before every match, so you can make your selection of how annoying you want the AI to be. Now, before we get into this title proper, I want to touch very quickly on the pay-per-view password selection that is present on the main menu. Honestly, an idea that is just brilliant in my mind. During pay-per-views, or even on Nitro, WCW would release a password to unlock matches for you to play on that night. For example, a password reading a bunch of random letters would unlock that night's matches, like Jericho vs Juvie for the Cruiserweight title, Raven vs Goldberg for the US title, Booker vs Psychosis for the TV title, and Savage vs Hogan for the World title, a card straight out of a WCW Nitro show that would be airing at the time. Now, there were hundreds of these passwords available. These also were used to unlock certain arenas, and other totally wacky cheats. Honestly though, the way that the WCW roster changed so rapidly and randomly, it would be hard to keep this up for long, as guys like Sid Vicious would come into the company and quickly get a big push, so most of the passwords would be missing multiple matches. This lasted 3 months after the game's release and was given out on the Nitro before the pay-per-view itself, which honestly, yeah, I really like this idea. It's truly creative. This cheat would also unlock some cool things though, like Rey Mysterio in his masked look.
He's got to be like the tubby uncle you have at Thanksgiving over to your house, mooching food. He's got to let it all hang out after dinner. If he does that, he's sure to put him away.
The roster, like most WCW games, is split into multiple parts, with the WCW, NWO, Hollywood, Wolfpack, Four Horsemen, Cruiserweight and Hardcore divisions all being separated, although they get really cheeky with it, because guys like Sonny Uno appear under the Hardcore section, which is just, yeah, I guess they had nowhere else to put them. There is 17 hidden wrestlers, with nearly all of them being unlocked for beating Quest for the Best on a certain difficulty and on a certain weight type. The only one that doesn't unlock is Chris Jericho, who you need to actually unlock by fighting in each of the backstage areas. Honestly, I am very impressed with the roster in this title. There's a bunch of super important guys to the company at the time, with your obvious Goldberg, DDP, Sting, Hogan, Hall, Nash and Bobby Blaze, with also total and complete surprises like Chris Jericho, who was just super gone from the company by August, signing his WWF contract on June 30th. There's a playable Eric Bischoff, Mean Gene Okerlund, Jimmy Hart, and just a bunch of other people that, yeah, just weird inclusions. There's Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, the entire Ravens flock, the awesome Norman Smiley, Doug Dillinger, La Parker. There are notable guys here like Kaz Hayashi, Canyon, Ernest the Cat Miller, Eddie Guerrero, Bobby Blaze, Bobby Duncombe, and even Bobby Eaton the Pussy. Bam Bam Bigelow makes his WCW title debut after his tenure in ECW coming to an end. There is a genuinely great amount of guys available here to be selected. On top of that, the models themselves really do look great. I love the look of these. Although they don't emote in any way outside of random grunts in the ring and taunts, these are better texturally. These are better models than what we had in WWF Attitude, although that title did have its own gritty style to each person as opposed to the cleaner look of each wrestler here. That being said, the animations absolutely let these titles down. There isn't a frame in this game that isn't spent looking at a character standing with this stupid meerkat style look on their face. It's how they walk, how they grapple, and how they stand idly on the character selection screen. It's absolutely ridiculous that they looked at this and decided it was totally okay for every character to look like this. It's hilarious. Now, according to Wikipedia, hidden within the game's audio files are commentary lines for over a dozen other personalities, as the known names included Tony Schiavone, Rick Rude, Paul Orndorff, Mike Enos and Ted DiBiase. This strongly implies that they were going to be included in the game at one stage, which is just insane. This game has enough guys in it, truly.
Self-high-five.
The entrances in this title range from bland to uninteresting. A wrestler walks out, they might taunt or pose, then they move on to the ring. In the N64 version, their theme songs are absolutely abysmal and almost non-existent, though in the PlayStation version they are obviously much better because of the disc. The main thing that really holds these entrances together is the use of the commentary to accentuate each wrestler as they make their way out onto the ramp.
Now approaching the ring,
Judging from that response, I'd say this crowd is not behind this guy at all.
introducing first, a true ambassador for the WCW Tag Team Legend, the often imitated but never duplicated Bobby Eaton.
Well, Brain, what do you have to say about him?
This guy stinks. He's got no charisma, no ability, he's ugly, and he lets his mommy dress him in the dust.
Stop it, please!
Obviously, they have their general name and stats announced, as well as a little something about their background by the announcer himself. But the little notes added by the commentators are just excellent.
Hey, Brain, heard anything about this guy?
This guy's got an awful lot of skills, but he still has a few flaws. That's what makes him bold.
I don't even know why I asked you, Brain.
From Bobby the Brain insulting the wrestlers making their way to the ring, or them just being talked up in general by the announcers themselves. It's worth mentioning here as well that the wrestler's exit from a match is also completely a non-factor. It's on the same level as Warzone and Attitude, which is a shame. They honestly couldn't even climb a turnbuckle and pose. Hell, sometimes they just left the ring entirely, though that seems to be more of a glitch. Most guys who also have very distinct entrances in real life just don't in this title. Where's the Parker's chair? You know what I didn't notice until after the fact? These entrances are almost identical to WWF Warzone, with the terrible pyro and everything. They stand on the stage and taunt. Still though, I do prefer what we got here when compared to later titles like WWF SmackDown later on down the line.
Breaker! It's the original KID. Started
You have no idea how much that hurt.
He's won the match.
As noted, the commentary in WCW Mayhem is excellent.
In the ring with him in the morning when he gets out of bed.
That move looks like it took something out of Ned.
Perhaps some of the best I've ever heard up to this point. There's nothing close to this level, except for maybe Attitude and Warzone, but in comparison between those three titles, I do think the fresh nature of Schiavone and Bobby Heenan's quips and overall reactions to moves does add a whole other level to the matches that we're witnessing.
That one had to hurt the mouth of the South.
I don't even think he knows where he is right now.
Though there's a complete absence of music in said matches, the incredibly loud crowd is mixed well with the voiceover from the guys that we assume are at ringside.
There he goes, working the crowd again.
You know, anytime you want to start fighting, guys, be nice. You can't win by posing.
Bobby jokes Schiavone does his best to call the moves themselves and makes audible reactions to big hits and jumps on the top rope. Having Bobby quip that we have no idea how much that hurts really does add to a move. Where Schiavone excellently calls out certain move names, even in comparison forward in time a couple more years, the commentary found in this title is miles better than just Bringett's awful commentary that was on offer in that title. If you happen to use a move over and over again, something that's easily done as there's no move list in the goddamn options, really WCW again with this,
That looked like it really hurt. Hope he's got good insurance.
Whereas the music in the menus themselves is just random theme songs, Nacho's theme and all sorts of other little songs to just fill out the void, which is rather unexceptional. Raven has his sweet theme, Jericho uses something completely generic instead of his Pearl Jam ripoff, and DDP has his great Nirvana style track, and the WCW have theirs as well, but everyone else just completely fails to have anything memorable. The Mexican Cruiserweights have their LWO theme, even though the LWO disbanded, and guys like Conan and Ray also use something rather generic. Oh, and before I forget, the N64 version of this title doesn't have Bobby Heenan at all. Like not even a tiny bit. It's literally just Schiavone commenting to himself, speaking to his made-up friend Bobby, who doesn't have a microphone or exists, because it's just Schiavone on his own. Weird.
Some guys think the key to victory is nailing the guy in the corner.
He was really working him in the corner.
When you really want to put a beating to a guy, there's no better place than the old corner.
Now making his way to the ring, he is the WCW World Television Title Champion, representing the NWO Wolfpack, Disco Inferno.
He looks livid. You know, he looks like I do when I see Orphan leaving my house at 3 in the morning.
There seems to be a lot of energy in the crowd tonight. Goes back to the same move.
What's up with this one-trick pony? Can't he do anything else?
Now he must be quite confident if he's talking this much.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Diamond Dallas Page.
Your winner tonight, Diamond Dallas Page.
This match went back and forth so many times, Tony. But in the end, he showed me and everyone who came to win.
This has been another edition of WCW Mayhem. Thanks again. Lion Tamer!
You have no idea how much that hurts.
He did it! He's won the match!
The gameplay consists of you essentially spamming buttons, as there is a ton of them to press on this one. Though no move list is present, there is a button for grappling. Once a grapple has been initiated, it's possible to activate one of 9 different grapple moves, one for each of the X, O and triangle variants. Sorry, is it circle? Some people might be funny about me saying O instead of circle. The square button is reserved especially for your finishing move, which is odd because guys with submission finishers can just spam said moves whenever they want at any point in the match, meaning I probably have half an hour of footage of me downing an opponent then spamming the walls of Jericho, Lion Tamer style, all over and over again. The finishers themselves also aren't much to write home about. Goldberg has his jackhammer.
That was incredible!
Raven has his DDT, and DDP has his Diamond Cutter. Once all of the wrestlers have made their entrance, thankfully the match just starts.
And with that bell, we're underway with the this matchup.
Unlike in Attitude, where on the PlayStation 1 it decides to have a separate loading screen between entrances and the match proper. In a triple threat triangle match, you tend to just be stuck hammering and punching each other till somebody gets locked into an animation you can't actually break. This could be said for the game itself just in general, but spamming punches and kicks before you start to weaken them enough to actually try some grappling. There's also some top rope moves, though it would appear every member of the roster uses the big splash and the double axe handle. Though sometimes a knee drop can be seen from time to time. Talking of gameplay, this is honestly the first game I've ever played that allowed you to simply leave a battle royale. Just step out of the ring, head to the back. It's as easy as ever.
Spectacular move.
He's able to cinch in this hold. All the ref will need to do is call for the bell.
It's over.
As noted, finishing moves are a simple press of square. You grapple, hit square and DDT to your heart's content as soon as your finishing bar is full. There's also a bunch of really strange inputs here. Pressing up and triangle will have you do a special kick or punch, meaning that the more often than not you'll be pressing up to move towards your opponent and start spamming jumping spin kicks or spinning back fists, leaving yourself completely open for attack. I just wanted to throw a kick, not whatever the hell this is. Truthfully, there is a system at play here. Using different moves will fill up your momentum meter and the crowd will cheer when you hit a different move. They'll become even more powerful. If they boo, that's because you're using the same move over and over. Of course, with a full momentum meter, that's where you'll score a finishing move. Its strength, though, is absolutely abysmal. It will take 3 to 4 diamond cutters straight to down ᴘᴇxධɪʟᴇ, and around 4 to 5 even flow DDTs from Raven to down somebody else. I did find this title incredibly easy to pick up and play on the PlayStation, though I had no idea what to expect. I first tried the old tested up, down, square to see if that was how to do a move, but nope, yeah, I totally went for the about to be tried and tested grapple up move system that would be SmackDown's bread and butter for years to come in the near future.
Almost had him.
The hit detection is absolutely abysmal and just doesn't work at all in multi-man matches. You will literally spend your time hitting 3 straight punches before the 4th one may suddenly hit. Wrestlers can become stunned after receiving a large blow. Once you pick them up, will just stand kind of staggered, allowing you to grapple up without any resistance. There's corner moves, the ability to throw your opponent over the top rope, which looks great, a really smooth animation to that one, as well as the ability to hit opponents with several different weapons in the hardcore and weapon matches that are available.
To do some serious damage, he's got the Singapore cane. What a brutal assault.
Medium and easy difficulty, selectable from the main menu, are just way too easy. It's all kind of weird. Hard mode though, that's where this game kind of steps up a little bit, begins to start countering moves often and actually beginning to fight back. Upon sliding outside of the ring, there is always 2 chairs just hanging out. Unfortunately, there's little flash to these. A shot to the ribs and a shot to the back, and that's about it for the chair usage, which is a shame. I wasn't expecting more, but yeah, there's no DQ in this one. As a way to try and get as many bodies on screen at once, I used the Battle Royale match type to take a look at a character's model in-game. This led to some incredible match results, mainly having the wrestlers throw each other over the top rope in quick fashion whilst I either watched or left on my own accord. But sometimes the wrestlers would both go after the same person and leave at the same time, meaning that there was sometimes actually no winner on a couple of occasions. Just excellent. I love little things like this.
He did it. He's won the match.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Raven.
Total domination. Now those are the only words I can use to describe this match. Thanks for playing WCW Mayhem.
The quest for the best is essentially career mode that we've seen in previous WCW and other such wrestling titles. It consists of a one-on-one match with several different opponents, one after another, with each win taking you closer to your goal of becoming the new TV champion. I for one did not foresee myself having to wrestle to gain the right to take on Glenn Gilberti. If I wanted to do that, I'd just tweet him.
I'm sorry folks, but this match is just awful.
Nonetheless, this mode is actually a very enjoyable one. On your first playthrough, whether you choose a cruiserweight or not depends on which star you'll unlock, with guys like Lashley, Ric Flair, Scott Hall and Wolfpack Sting all being unlockable. Surely it's worth your time. Can you imagine a wrestling game having Ric Flair locked behind a story mode? Just bizarre. He's a marquee name, damn it! Here's something hilarious. I put in a cheat that changed certain characters to a developer and his children, so by the time I got to Stevie Ray in the career mode, my match was actually against a small child, which is totally in league of what Jericho would do in that situation.
Lion Tamer! There it is! It's all over! It's all over!
The winner and new TV champion, Chris the Lionheart Jericho.
He is now faced with the challenge of trying to win the...
For the first time in one of these reviews, I actually need to genuinely shout out the arena selection in WCW Mayhem. It's truly a sight to behold. Not only is there 13 backstage areas, but on top of that, there are 12 pay-per-view arenas and several other TV shows available to do battle in. Though with that all being said, the arenas are completely random in look and style. Not literally, but they just don't resemble their respective pay-per-view shows at all. Perhaps they were given names and a sort of idea for what the show would be, then they'd just come up with something. There's the bathroom where Vince Russo came up with his ideas for WCW television in 2000, the boiler room where David Flair learnt to wrestle in the dark. Wait, where is David Flair in this title? I want my money back! There's the day office where Bischoff played president, the daytime parking lot where the white Hummer would run over somebody. Or maybe it didn't, brother! The first aid room where Sid's leg was reattached.
These men have not only left the ring, but they've taken this medal to the backstage hallway!
As well as a nighttime variant of the parking lot. Insert joke here. Why do I know about all these backstage arenas? Well, for some reason you have to fight in each location during the story mode in order to unlock Chris Jericho. I know I touched on that earlier, but I just want to drive home that I actually had to do that. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of danger trying moves like that, but if you can do it, you can win a lot of matches.
Connects off the rope!
Well, like they say, what goes up must come down. This time he just came down on top of him.
General reviews for WCW Mayhem were fairly mixed across the board, scoring around the 65 to 75% mark by most reviewers, though IGN gave the N64 version an 8.5 out of 10, which by today's standards means it's better than most of the good Pokemon games.
Well, it looks like these two remembered. They have a wrestling match to attend.
According to Wikipedia, a sequel to WCW Mayhem was planned to be released on PlayStation 2 in 2001 and was meant to be developed by Aki Corporation, the developers who we of course know and love. It would appear that the follow-up to this title, Backstage Assault, actually scared WCW into making a good decision by returning to the Aki Corp. But it's too little too late. Never mind. Overall, I did really think the graphics were impressive, despite the terrible crowd around ringside. I mean, they were good, just not built right. The scanning of these wrestlers was done quite well. Flair looks good, sometimes, but other guys like Scott Steiner, and sometimes even Jericho, just look awful. WCW tried something different with these character selection, and having the characters stand on the screen whilst you're selecting them. This works absolutely great on the N64 and the no loading, but doesn't translate well over to the PS1 version. The game performed well enough, the moves flowed despite feeling clunky, so I really enjoyed the animations themselves, though coming from the Aki titles, it would appear that WCW wouldn't know what success was, even if it bit them in the behind. Their unwillingness to wanting to share a developer with their competitor was short-sighted, and led to the WWF having their games created by the Aki Corporation moving forward, which would bring us to our next title.